Jesus who loves the children and youth. When we read what it teaches, we can receive heaven's truth. It tells us that the God above has a plan for this lost world. It tells us that this God of love cares for each boy and girl. I believe what Jesus says to me. I believe in the Bible.
Hi friends, my name is Jonathan.
And I'm his sister Michelle.
Welcome to our program, I Believe, where we will learn all the basic beliefs of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Last week, we learned about spiritual gifts, but today, we are learning about a special gift called the gift of prophecy. I never really thought of prophecy as a gift.
Throughout the Old Testament, God often communicated with people through prophets. It says in the Bible that the prophets spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit.
So was it just in the Old Testament that God used prophets?
They were not called prophets in the New Testament, but we still see that God also moved people. After Jesus ascended to heaven and his disciples came together with other believers, some of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages.
So what about in more recent times? Has God used the gift of prophecy in our days?
In the Bible, Jeremiah prophesied that God would use the gifts of prophecy in the end times. The Apostle John also mentioned that in the last days, God's church would have a special message from Jesus called the testimony of Jesus.
That's interesting. So when did God give us this message?
In 1842, a man named William Foy received a 2.5-hour vision where he saw events that would happen close to the second coming of Jesus. He shared this message with some people, and many were converted. 2 years later, a man named Hazen Foss was given a similar vision and was told to share it with others. He refused to obey, and the Spirit of God left him, and he was told that the message would be given to someone else. A few weeks later, in 1844, a third person, Ellen Harmon, was given a vision while at a prayer meeting with her friends. She was a shy teenager, but she decided to share the message God gave her. Once when William Foy heard the message Ellen was sharing, he recognized it as the same message he had been giving for a time. Hazen Foss also recognized it as the same message he received and warned her not to reject God's call as he had done. She was not very strong either, but God sent a strong man to help Ellen in her work. His name was James White.
Isn't he the person she married?
Yes, they were married a couple of years later, and Ellen White continued to share God's message for about 70 years.
Through books, articles, and even letters.
She also established many schools, hospitals, and publishing houses around the world.
Our sentence for today talks about the gift of prophecy. The Lord has a gift for his remnant people to guide us day and night. This is the gift of prophecy. With the Bible, we discern aright. In visions and dreams, he shared his love through a girl named Ellen White. The Lord tells his church, he's by our side. He's there to show us the way. He's always there to comfort and guide, to teach us each and every day.
The Lord has a gift for his remnant people to guide us day and night. This is the gift of prophecy. With the Bible we discern aright. The Lord tells his church he's by our side. He's there to show us the way. He's always there to comfort and guide, to teach us each and every day. The Lord has a gift for his remnant people, a message of truth and light. In visions and dreams he shared his love through a girl named Ellen White. The Lord tells his church he's by our He's there to show us the way. He's always there to comfort and guide, to teach us each and every day.
In Matthew, it says that at the end of time, many false prophets will rise up to deceive many. So we must test their claims. There are 4 ways to test a prophet. Number 1, does the prophet receive supernatural visions? Number 2, do the prophet's teachings agree with the Bible and God's law? Number 3, when the prophet predicts something, does it actually happen? Number 4, what is the fruit of the prophet's life and ministry?
In her lifetime, Ellen G. White wrote 24 books, 5,000 articles, 200 tracts and pamphlets, and 2,000 handwritten letters.
I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Your old shall dream dreams. Your young shall see visions. Joel 2 verse 28. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. Joel 2 verse 28. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh.
In today's experiment, we will write an invisible message with lemon juice. Here are the materials we need: a lemon, a small container, a paintbrush, paper, and an iron. You will also need a parent to help you since we are using a hot iron. First, I will squeeze this lemon. Then I will use this paintbrush to write a message and let it fully dry. Let's compare our hidden message paper with another piece of paper that doesn't have a message. It's really hard to see that there's any difference. I will use the hot iron to reveal the message, like this. The lemon juice contains carbon compounds that are colorless at room temperature. The heat from the iron breaks down the compounds and releases the carbon. The carbon then oxidizes when it comes into contact with the air and turns brown, making the invisible message visible. It reminds me that the Bible talks about prophets and how some prophets are true and others are fake. It tells us to test these prophets so that we are not deceived. Just like the iron tested the papers to reveal which paper had the hidden message, so these texts will make it clear which prophets have the true message of God.
Surely the Lord God does nothing unless He reveals His secrets to His servants, the prophets. Surely the Lord
identify something, you need to know how to distinguish it from other things that might look similar to it. If you have some salt in one bowl and some sugar in another bowl, it might not be very easy to tell the difference just by looking at them from a distance. But can you think of a way to tell which one is which? By tasting them. Salt will never taste sweet, and sugar will never taste salty. When trying to identify an unknown mineral, it is sometimes helpful to use a streak test. One good way is to use the mineral to draw a line on an unglazed porcelain tile. The color of the line that is drawn on the tile is what you want to notice. Here is a streak test with a piece of galena. Notice that the color of the streak is gray. There is another mineral called hematite which can look very similar to galena, but the color of its streak is reddish. So the color of the streak is one good way to tell those two minerals apart. It's the same way with the gift of prophecy. The true gift of prophecy, of course, comes from God, but sometimes people claim to have the gift of prophecy when they really don't. But God does not want us to be deceived in this matter, and in the Bible, He has given us several tests that we can use. If someone fails to pass any of these tests, then we can know for sure that he does not have the true gift of prophecy and that God has not sent him. Let's be sure to use the tests God has given us so that we will not be deceived. For the end of times.
Me too. See you guys soon.
The Lord has a gift for His remnant people to guide us day and night. This is the gift of prophecy.